It's 2024. The elections are in a few months. 2025 is around the corner. The market is in shambles. You have no idea what's going to happen next year. Right now, it does not look good. The housing market is crazy. There's so many unknowns when it comes to business. You got these creators launching businesses that they want to make $1 million tomorrow. Zero patience in the streets. It is absolute chaos. In this video, we're going to answer some of those hard-hitting questions and help you try to figure out ways to navigate through the shit show that's ahead of you. My name is Michael Alfaro, serial entrepreneur, where I've launched companies in the fitness, gym, brick and mortar space, then pivoted and launched a company in the technology fitness space, and now with Master Food Lab, where we're in the contract manufacturing space, helping brands and trainers launch innovative functional foods in market. We've done over $50 million in revenue over the last 15 to 20 years, and I just want to dive deep into the pieces of the questions that you might be asking yourself. So let's get into it.
What are your thoughts on school and education in general?
I've never been a person that loved school. I've only seen it as a means to an end. And school, unless you're learning exactly what you need to apply in the real world that will help you get what you want out of life, I feel that isn't necessary. So if you were a doctor or you were a lawyer, or you were somebody that needed that craft or that license in order to practice your skill, then I would say it's definitely something that might help you on your journey. But if you are trying to chase your dreams and build a company, whatever that might be, that doesn't absolutely need that certification, you are better off still learning and being a student of your craft, going into your specialty or skill set and figuring out how to execute and do what you need to get done to build your company. And you might be able to learn those things through a YouTube video, or you might be able to learn those things through another source, but school in its original format, I am not a big believer that that's the need that you have to utilize to get to where you want to go.
How do you find unlimited things to do throughout a day?
Honestly, I don't have enough time in the day. There is not enough time in the day, in the week, in the month to execute on all the things that I'm trying to execute, and that's okay. The moment you become okay with the fact that you're gonna have some balls that drop, I think Gary Vee said this best. He says, I have 27 balls in the air, and if 10 of them drop and I catch 17, guess what? I did pretty damn good. And it's okay that I dropped some balls, because instead of only having one ball in the air and being so scared that you might drop that ball, having 27 things going on or things you're trying to execute on, but knowing that some are gonna fall, you're not gonna be able to deliver on, and you'll leave those for the next day and the next day and so forth. And you just gotta prioritize properly. But there is never gonna be enough time in your day to execute on everything that you have in front of you. So you're just gonna need to know which balls you're able to drop without derailing you on your path.
How do you take advantage of opportunities while there's blood in the streets?
So the biggest wealth generation moments that have ever happened, if you look back across history, is whenever there was a catastrophic impact in society, the market, whether it's housing, whether it's wars. Those that were able to be calm, level-headed, and see through the panic of the community, the world as a whole, were able to see the silver linings of what that was going to become. Whether it was the housing market crash of 2008, and seeing the fact that what was actually the reason behind it, and how did you invest against it, or how could you see how it would turn around. That being calm in shaky, rough waters is the mindset you need to have before you even approach going and actually making an investment when there's blood on the streets. So the first step is create a level-headed concept in your mind. Understand that you are not in it, but you are outside of it, looking at what's happening, and then try to find the silver linings of what is really happening behind the noise. And if you can see through the noise, you will see opportunity, and you will be able to take massive advantage of what is happening.
Should you quit if you're a slower learner when compared to the average person?
I don't believe that the ability for you to learn a skill or to understand something can hold you back from ever achieving what you want to achieve. There is a much more important piece of that puzzle. If you have consistency and the deep burning desire to never give up in whatever it is that you're doing, and maybe it takes you 3 times as long as it might take someone else to learn the same skill, but you keep at it over time and that person just needed to satisfy that skill, you have the desire, the deep wanting passion to be the best in that craft, you will excel in the long term. It almost goes back to sports. When you were growing up, you know how like there was these kids that just had this natural talent, this natural skill, and they could just pick up a ball and just play, versus the other kid that had to practice every single day, had to shoot hoops after every single practice just to be able to even play at the level they were. Take Kobe Bryant, for example. Guy couldn't make shit when he was getting started in his leagues, and he became the best in the fucking league over time, but he worked harder than anybody. He was consistent and he was driven, and he became the GOAT. And how do you do that? Consistency over time will beat skill any day of the week.
Why is it so important to get physically fit in business?
Being physically fit sharpens the mind. With a sharp mind and the ability to have the energy, the charisma to carry yourself a certain way and approach your day with energy allows you to actually take on much more. There's a different dynamic that happens in your body scientifically at a cellular level that when you are primed, and Tony Robbins talks about this very much. He says, like, I wake up every day and I prime myself by breathing and hyping himself up and bringing in this emotion and being grateful and all these things. But that physical aspect of breathing, on top of his cold plunges in the morning as well, but that physical aspect of priming gets his body and his state in a form that allows him to tackle much more and be in an energetic state. Fitness does that by default without actually going through these points, right, that Tony Robbins put together. But fitness, when you're exerting energy, you're breathing. When you're breathing heavy, you're exerting that force, that energy. Your body generates this energy source, and then you're able to execute at a higher level from a mindset perspective. Outside of respect, which I think if you have the respect to take care of the only body that you were given in this life, other people might look at you and be like, man, that guy cares about his health, that guy cares about his stuff, and he's gonna take that same approach to everything else he does in life. But fitness, for me, will execute that on a mindset level and allow me to always take on and do much more than I would do on the days that I don't train.
What is a common habit that most successful people have?
Most successful people are extremely consistent. They're committed, they're devoted, and day in, day out, no matter what, there is no wavering. They're executing on what they're trying to achieve. If you compound those days over time, there's no way that that person won't execute on their craft. But when you start wavering along the journey and you're, today I got a good day, I'll put in some work, I feel good, I have the energy, the sun rose the right way, versus saying, I feel like shit, I don't want to go, but guess what? I gotta go. And staying consistent over time and executing whether you want to or not is one of the most valuable things that truly successful people are doing every single day to actually achieve what they're trying to achieve.
How do you continue to work hard after you recently went through a heartbreak?
If something's not going your way right now, you just have to find the light and know that the only way that that stays constant is if you don't keep going. If you keep going, you will eventually come out of the shit. The best way that I can put it is, you know what buffaloes do when they see a storm coming? They run head into the storm. Why? Because they know that if they run into the storm, when everybody else is running away from the storm, they will get through it. It will be harder, it will be rougher. They'll go through shit in that X amount of time, but the amount of time that they're in that storm is gonna be much shorter than every other animal that's running away from the storm that's gonna be stuck in it and going with it. So run through all of the challenges and the obstacles that are in front of you, and you'll see how you're gonna come out on the other side better, and you'll only be in that for a shorter period of time. But you have to have the mindset to just push hard when shit gets tough.
Why do average people usually remain average?
Is because either they're not exposed to what's possible, like they haven't been shown what's possible. Have you ever walked on a 140-foot yacht and thought, what the fuck does this guy do for a living? It's a different mindset. Like what got them there is a completely different trajectory. It's a different business, a different understanding. Like you'll know that you might rarely work yourself to that position. You need to be an owner of something. There's these components that if you're exposed to something where you see that there's levels to the game, then it will allow you to change your mindset or see things from a different perspective. So I would say one, it's have you been exposed to a different level? And I don't think the average person is ever even exposed to that. If you are exposed to that higher level, and so you see what's possible, whether it's through social media or from movies or whatever that is, then it's the desire. Some people are truly happy doing the 9 to 5 and making their $70,000 or $80,000 a year, and they live an amazing life and they have a beautiful family, and like that brings a lot of joy to them, and their life is balanced and they are excited every day when they wake up in the morning. They're passionate and they're in love. That's great for them. But there's still a fact of what is the average versus what is the top 10% or 5% or 3% or 1% of the population based on a bunch of different figures, mostly financially related. But happiness is a big component. Personally, I don't care to be the 1% if I'm truly unhappy. I want to be the 1% of the 1% while being super happy every single day of my life, having love around me, having family, and having it all. Like, that's truly having it all. So I think there's levels to the game. You need to be exposed to it, and then you have to have the desire to want to achieve it. And that's how you will get out of being average. If you want to dive in further, check out this video where I go in over my last 20 years of business experience and deliver some of the 5 critical errors that you have to avoid.